11 News this morning. Coverage you can count on.
Enron's former investor relations chief said yesterday in trial that he raised concerns about murky financial disclosures months before the company imploded back in 2001. But Mark Koenig says his comments to company founder Kenneth Lay and former CEO Jeffrey Skilling were to no avail. Koenig is in his third day of testifying for the prosecution in the Lay and Skilling fraud and conspiracy trial in Houston. Today, the attorney for Kenneth Lay will have his shot at Koenig. This morning, jury and trial consultant Mary Griffitt's back to talk to us about the trial. So he's been on the stand for 3 days, and you think his testimony is very significant because of the fact that he's mea culpa. He's saying, you know what? I was there. I'm just as guilty to a certain degree as the guys you're looking at here at this trial.
Right. It's incredibly powerful for a witness to get up on that stand and look the jury straight in the eye and say, I pled guilty because I am guilty. That is a huge thing for jurors to hear and to understand, because the defendants are going to try to make, this person look like he's jaded and he's only doing this because he's trying to get more time off. But to look the jury and say, I'm guilty and I pled guilty is huge.
How does this work on a jury? Because for 2 days solid, he was stoic, straightforward, gave the facts, never wavered emotionally. Suddenly, yesterday during testimony, he's asked about the day he had to tell his kids, kids, I am guilty of a crime. I'm going to prison. He cries on the stand. The judge takes a momentary delay, lets everybody, compose themselves, comes back on the stand. But that emotional moment after 2 days of just straightforward, non-emotion, does that play with the jury at all?
It will depend on the delivery of that, because to some degree we all have a really good idea of who's being genuine and who is not. For him to be very straight, matter of fact the whole time, except for when he talks about how it affected him personally, how it affected to have his kids look at him and go, I wonder if Dad did something wrong. If that really is how he felt and he generally gave that...
Who wins that?
He can.
Okay.
He can very much, because you also have to realize that there's 8 women on that jury, 8 women with a lot of families, so that's gonna be pretty huge for them.
Let me ask you about the jury. We've talked so much about can those two guys get a fair trial down in Houston. Obviously, everybody in Houston's just aggravated to the core about what's happened there. We had a random sampling of folks here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area yesterday. Here's what they had to say. This is hundreds of miles from where the trial is happening.
Oh, I think they're guilty.
I think they should do major prison time if they can prove that they did it.
Well, I think they're worse than somebody who comes up on the street and takes $250 out of your pocket.
I think they're guilty.
I'm kind of hoping that justice will be served. It sounds like the top dogs knew what was going on, and all those people unfortunately lost their savings.
Those opinions were here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Does that make it a foregone conclusion in Houston?
This is such a huge case. People have their perceptions, and it is so ingrained in Texas, the way some people believe what occurred with Enron. It's going to be tough to overcome those perceptions.
Mary Griffitt, thanks as always. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
It's going to be a long trial. We're going to have a lot of information along the way. You can find up-to-the-minute information on the trial, including the timeline of events leading up to the fall of the company on our website. We are always on at CBS11TV.com.